Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Art Games. Today I'm going to show you a very fun game I've had. Civilization 5, of course. It's a very good game. I'm going to be showing you this game and specifically a naval invasion I had. You don't see those a lot in Civ 5. Uh, but this was a very fun one and I want to share it with you. Uh, War in this game is very fun and naval invasions, in my opinion, are the peak of this. So I'm going to be showing you this. Let's get right into this. So we're in the game. I'm at war with basically the entire world except for um, Portugal and Byzantium. This is the voiceover is recorded later, so there might be a bit of problems with that, but I'm just going to be describing it to you. Yeah, I have no idea what past me is doing over here. Probably explaining something. But yeah, there's. I'm currently performing a naval invasion near the Aztecs. Because I've conquered basically my entire continent. Those cities over there, they have been freed by me. So Byzantium has been revived basically, and Portugal is my ally, mostly because I couldn't lose my trade routes with them. So now I'm at war with the Aztecs. My biggest downside during this war was my lack of aircraft. As you can see, they have a lot of aircraft. Uh, yeah, and my invasion has started, but I still need to land those troops, of course. Unfortunately, I didn't have a big navy or any aircraft carriers nearby, so that was a very important downside. It is. So let's start by killing this submarine, or not. That's the problem with recording the audio after the video. You don't truly know what's happening anymore. But yeah, this carrier turned out to be far too late because there's a lot of distance between this ocean and Moscow, and therefore, once it arrived, the battle was basically already over. Or at least the naval invasion. There was some more battle to the west of here. But let's start with the invasion itself. So, that artillery is damaged. Obviously, I want to move it into the ocean, but the game doesn't allow me, so I first have to move the infantry out and the artillery into the water. Then, and then I make some space. This is truly where tanks shine, in my opinion, in taking down these weakened enemy units or just weaker enemy units in general, like artillery. They can absolutely overwhelm them, especially with the right promotions. And you can heal them every turn by pillaging, which you can do far easier with tanks than with, for example, infantry. And because of that, they just maintain their momentum, which is very strong. By the way, this infantry to the north of Teotihuacan, that infantry is a legend. He's going to survive the entire video on his own. Just keep an eye on him. He deserves it. Yeah, this was a very big downside for me. I fail on the roll to kill that sub, so it's allowed to strike me back, which is very problematic because that forces me to retreat my submarine, which means that my only naval support has just been obliterated. I really prepared this invasion badly. I should have had anti-air, I should have had fighters, I should have had an aircraft carrier, but I didn't. And I should have had a competent navy enough to just close off that strait hermetically. So, Yeah, there's not a lot to say at the moment. These planes, the enemy planes, they didn't do anything during the entire invasion. Like they could have absolutely obliterated me, but they didn't. They just spent all their time moving from city 1 to city 2 to city 3, doing absolutely nothing. The biggest thing with naval invasions and invasions in general, but especially naval invasions, is that you want to get a foothold as soon as possible. In normal invasions, you can at least put the foothold outside of enemy territory, but here it's not possible. And you want space to retreat your units, you want space to allow them to heal, uh, and you want space to allow you some maneuverability. But if you have your ships are if half your units are still on the ocean, you don't have that space. And of course, if the units are on the ocean, that's a very easy target, which is very bad. That bomber, this is the only time that they're gonna attack me. Like the first 2 turns, they will attack me. Then they bombard Teotihuacan after I conquer it, and that's it. That's all their planes do. Yeah, this is so nice about tanks. They're just very resilient, and I can heal them, and I can ignore their zone of control because of autocracy. If you ever have problems with war, go to autocracy. Autocracy is very good for everything. That was a joke, by the way, just for clarity's sake. It works in Civ, but you probably shouldn't try it in real life. So yeah, that sub fires back. I killed a sub, but now my sub is damaged, and this was very unfortunate. My damage destroyer got intercepted by a city-state privateer, which just reduced my navy by 50%, or at least my navy in the area. To be honest, the Ottomans should have done more during this invasion. Like, I'm at war with both the Aztecs and the Ottomans, but the Ottomans did absolutely nothing, while they did have a very large navy and a fairly decent ground force. But I guess this if AI just doesn't take into account allies and such. That's Yeah, that tank promotes, attack, and pillage. That's the entire step. That's everything you need to know to use tanks. It's that simple. Oh, and retreat them behind your lines because you tanks can heal quickly, but sooner or later you'll run out of tiles to pillage. So you kind of want to spare them a bit. So what I like to do is I attack with them, destroy certain targets, retreat, and then put infantry in front of it. So infantry, which is more expendable, um, can take the hits. Especially since these tanks have been promoted from Cossacks, so they are basically irreplaceable. I can build new tanks, but they won't have the ability to deal more damage to wounded units that Cossacks do. Honestly, promote certain units keeping their promotion is very fun. Like English Longbowmen, they have 3 range, or they have a +1 range promotion, which in the end results in 2 range Gatling guns, which is very strong. China has the Shukonu, which means that if once you upgrade the Shukonu, you have machine guns and Gatling guns that can fire twice in a turn, which is insane. Like that's double the DPS. Uh, yeah, that's very nice about units that receive promotion as their special ability instead of just a stat increase, like for example the ship of the line. That artillery just survived. Like they could have focused it down. They had more than enough planes, but they didn't focus it down. The AI in this game is not known for its intelligence. big plane. I should have had more anti-air. I was absolutely blessed for them not to attack me as heavily, but I should have had at least 4 anti-air units in this army by now. Yeah, Oliver Cromwell, great general. He's the supporting force of this entire invasion, combined with that great general in the south. And here you can see I have more pointy sticks than Montezuma. He has about 2/3 the amount of pointy sticks that I do. But of course, I have the advantage of being a human and therefore intelligent. Or at least humans are supposed to be intelligent. And that doesn't always happen. So yeah, pillage, run, pillage, and now it's time for the artillery to get some hits in on Tenochtitlan. Tenochtitlan just needs to be conquered as soon as possible because once I have Tenochtitlan, I can bring my bombers over there from Tagasa. My fighters can't; they're a bit of out of range, but at least those bombers will be able to get here and give me some air support. And of course, I will finally have a secure area to heal with, to retreat to if things go sour. You really want to take a beachhead as soon as possible in these sort of offensive invasion wars. And you want to make sure to do it in one big wave. That's sounds like it should speak for itself, but I think it needs to be said out loud sometimes. You need to attack in one big wave. If you go piecemeal, the enemy will destroy you. Especially in multiplayer, they will simply outnumber you and destroy you. You want to go in one big, massive invasion. Mm, yeah, that submarines managed to go through my lackluster blockade, forcing me to basically retreat everywhere. Yeah, tank. Yeah, I can't heal there because it will get bombarded by Texcoco, so I'll send it to the north, northeast to be exact. And of course, my cities are producing some units, which I will eventually be able to transport via airports, which is another reason why I want to capture at least one city, because once I can buy an airport in there, I can have constant reinforcements, such as that anti-aircraft gun in Moscow. If I bring it over to the ocean, it will take at least 15 turns for it to arrive. If I simply wait until I've got Tenochtitlan, I can simply teleport it in there. Yeah, they do have a lot of units, the Aztecs, but they don't use them correctly, and they are fairly old. The most dangerous thing the AI can do in this game is bomb rush you, because in that case, there's only so much that tactics can do. You can't attrition them, uh, you can't try to sneakily get kills while retaining your own forces. They will simply bull rush at you with no care for their own lives, which will cause them a lot of casualties. My apologies. But it will also eventually overwhelm you unless you have an equivalent number of troops. If the AI is simply waiting around, you'll win because as a player you simply are more able to conserve your own troops. I had an invasion from the Huns in this game. They attacked me in like the medieval era, and they could have absolutely destroyed me. They had more than enough troops, but they didn't attack my cities for some reason. Like they understood the get a lot of units and get them in there part of bull rushing, but they didn't understand the actually destroy the cities part, which is strange because, for example, they had battering rams which are only useful against cities. They had trebuchets, which are only to be used against cities, and they didn't attack any cities. So I was just able to destroy them from all sides with ranged attacks, crossbowmen, longswordsmen, pikemen, horses, and didn't they weren't able to do anything. Bombardment time. Tenochtitlan must fall ASAP. Yeah, conserving your troops is very important in this game because soldiers, as a player, you are able to get promotions, and a well promoted unit is worth so much more than normal units. For example, uh, once you've done three promotions in one of the main paths for either for naval units, for example, so either the ground bombardment one or the naval combat one, you can get access to logistics, which means that you attack twice a turn, which is insane. You can get access to supply, which means that you can heal without returning to your home waters, which is insane. For artillery, you can get extra range. You can get a double attack. For tanks, you can repair every turn regardless of whether you move. Uh, Promotions make such a big difference. So conserving your unit and getting those promotions is very important in the long term. Granted, it might not help you this war because promotions take a long time, but it will help you the next one. One of my biggest downsides here, I think I should have spread out a little more, but I don't necessarily know if I have enough artillery for that. But you can see that my units are pretty congested in this area, which is also another funny concept about war in this game. Congestion. You kind of want your units to be able to maneuver a bit. You want them to have space, and once you get to a certain percentage of people or units per tile, you basically can't do that. So half your units are just standing around there doing nothing, especially in these sort of invasions. Like on the bottom, that line, my lines are 4 units deep. You never need that. You need a front line and then a back line for artillery and AA and such. You don't need 4 lines. Those behind 2 lines are doing nothing. So I probably should have spread out a little more, but of course, if I do that without artillery, I can't actually take down the cities, which is another part where air power comes in because uh, air power can be a lot more easily focused on single targets. Artillery needs to get into position, needs to set up, but your air power doesn't. It's just there and it can target any unit in the region. Yeah, I did lose a great general here, which is a shame, and a machine gun. But compared to the amount of casualties the Aztecs will suffer in this war, I think I did pretty well. Now it's just a matter of waiting for the turn to end. So, more bombardments, more shots on that city, more and more bombardment. I think I'll take Tenochtitlan this turn. Yeah, I'll attack with the tank and then take it with the infantry. That's another big advantage of autocracy. You can ignore zone of control on your armor units, which means that no, that you can do stuff like this. Normally, I wouldn't have been able to get around this infantry because, of course, the infantry protects zone of control. But with autocracy, I can, which means that my maneuverability is increased by an immense amount. This is also something I like to do. Create puppets instead of annexing the city until you can get to how's it called? Um, until you can get out of the rebellion, which is the red fists over there in the city, because right now you can't build anything, so you can't build a courthouse. So there's no point to actually owning the city because everything you can do with it is blocked by the rebellion. So you should wait until the rebellion is done and then immediately annex and build a courthouse, assuming you have the happiness. And happiness is honestly one of the bigger problems in war in Civ 5, especially on the more medium to lower difficulties because it's just hard to get enough happiness, and the AI gets relatively easily overwhelmed by a competent player. But happiness, you can't overwhelm it; you just have to deal with it. But this is where an ideology does help because your ideology gives so many bonuses for happiness. But of course, if an enemy is culturally dominant over you and has a different ideology, then you will have problems with that. So you are kind of forced to switch. That's honestly one of the most frustrating mechanics in this game. Having another with a different ideology just ruin your happiness until you are forced to switch. Monuments, that's important. Two people must know who the true owner of this planet is. It is, of course, Russia. Everything in this planet is actually legally Russian territory. It's just that we gave it to other nations, but those nations have now betrayed us, so we must defend ourselves against them. That's logical, right? I'm being sarcastic if you can't tell. Planes moving around and doing absolutely nothing. Like, they spent their turn moving some planes around from Teotihuacan to that city in the south, Texcoco, and two more planes from Texcoco to Teotihuacan. Like, what's the point in that? The net result is zero planes in either area. Yeah, I did lose Tenochtitlan again, but I can conquer it again, and this time I will hold it. Because, of course, their units have been a bit thinned out. And this is kind of interesting. They basically pull back to their own territory here. Like they're sitting on the border. Once I kill these two units, they will stay on the border, which means that I can focus my forces, whereas they can't. Which again is a massive advantage to me. Focusing forces is very important in this game because if you have two units, the enemy's one, you won't lose a single unit, and they will lose one unit because you can attack more and you can heal damaged units. Meanwhile, they will simply lose a unit with no gain. So you want to concentrate your force as much as possible and destroy isolated parts of the enemy with your entire force. Tactics are truly what make games like this great. It's not just about strategy, like long-term planning, but you also need to think well in the moment, especially with your military. And that combination is truly what makes a great strategy game. Long-term planning and short-term actions. And this is honestly why I love Civ 5. It's one of the many reasons. Civ 5 is a great game. To invade France, my religion. There isn't a France in this game, but of course it is a moral obligation to invade France, so life finds a way. Let's, for the purposes of this video, uh, call Montezuma's country France. It's not the Aztecs anymore, it's France. Now, next turn, let's see what they bring. Lots of bread. lots of planes, presumably. Yeah, there I go. I was right. I should have brought more anti-air. I could have absolutely destroyed that plane, those planes, because of course Great War bombers are a bit behind in the tech tree compared to AA. But I didn't. I didn't bring any. Some advice for if you want to launch your own invasion or just war in general in the late game: bring AA. You will need it. That's a big army. A very big army. Unfortunately for them, it's also relatively weak. I mean, don't get me wrong, infantry are decent, but they're decent. They do their job, they have decent combat strength, but they're not really anything exceptional. Whereas artillery with promotions and tanks, look at that, I can just go in there and one-shot that artillery. Some research, and of course let's retreat the tank, because this tank, you don't want your tanks on the front line. On the front line, they can take damage, they can get killed. You don't want that. You want to save them. The infantry can get killed. Their lives are worthless to me. No, well, not worthless, just worthless. Well, technically, if you split worthless, you get worthless. So, I think it counts. Mm, destroy the artillery. Bring in the infantry, the machine guns. Artillery and bombers are truly the kings. Like, I like tanks; they can do a lot, but just the versatility and power of artillery and bombers is almost impossible to understate. Your tank can only be in one place at one time, while a bomber basically has a 10 range sphere around itself where it says no, you are not allowed to enter to any enemy units. And unless they have competent AA, which the AI will. Well, that's another interesting thing. The AI is absolutely worthless with its air units, but it is capable and willing to use AA, which I really like. It can use AA quite effectively by just making a third of their army AA guns or SAMs, which means that yes, they might not be as effective in a straight up ground match, but your air support will be much less effective. That's something I really love compared to Civ 6. The AI actually uses the units available to it. In Civ 6, I think I've seen maybe 2 aircraft total. Like, just far too little. Um, that's insane. The In Civ 5, the AI is actually willing to use units in competent numbers. But now I can finally get my bombers in safely. I have this barrier of infantry guarding Tenochtitlan. Yeah, he wants a peace deal, but I do not want a peace deal. I want his cities. There comes their planes. There come more planes. By the way, if you want to see more stuff like this, more Civ 5, I can definitely do that. So just let me know in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe. It's all the general stuff that's you've probably heard 100,000 times already from various different YouTubers, but it does help. and it also shows me what you do and do not like in terms of content. Yeah, this is very interesting. They've basically built a wall here around the sides. But because they're kind of in a pickle here, they can either come in here and risk attack from my artillery above and Tenochtitlan, or they can stay at a distance and allow me to pick up off their units. And to be honest, in this situation, if I was uh, uh the the Aztecs, sorry, the French, they're the French. If I was the French, I would have. Mm, well, I would have used my planes competently, but let's assume I don't have planes for argument's sake. Maybe I would have tried some sort of defensive, like reactionary. No, that doesn't work either. You need to destroy that artillery. I would have tried to focus that artillery, but of course, uh, they had a lot of lancers at the start of the game, but I killed them, and now they're stuck with their infantry and their Gatling guns, which are slow. So, um, well, you can just Zerg rush towards the Nordland and kill as many units as possible, but that's very risky and it's gonna have a lot of casualties. To be honest, I don't like this situation from the Aztec side. So you need to move and kill them. Mm, the anti-tank gun, it's an interesting unit. I only have one in this formation, and it's only because I upgraded it from a lancer. But I generally don't find them to be that useful because tanks are pretty rare in AI use, and even when you find them, your anti-tank gun is generally too slow to catch it. And of course, in straight up matches against infantry, it has 15 combat strength less, so it will lose. Uh, I genuinely don't see the purpose. Like even helicopters, which are the upgrade to that, to the anti-tank gun, aren't really useful in straight up combat because yes, they can deal decent or good damage to tanks and mechanized, sorry, modern armor, and even giant death robots. They are incredibly vulnerable to everything else. Like they have 65 combat strength compared to 100 for the XCOM squad or the modern armor, and 90 for the mechanized infantry. Uh, and when they can't use their anti-tank bonus, they just get obliterated. So they're extremely vulnerable, and that's excluding the fact that, of course, mobile SAMs have a huge advantage against them. They can basically one-shot them. Um, Aircraft, jet fighters get a huge advantage against them. To be honest, this is one of the most funny things about Civ on a strategic scale. In the beginning, your main force is gonna be pikemen or spearmen earlier, but it's gonna be one of those two. The anti-cavalry line is the line, and the oh, by the way, if you saw that that army in the north, um, that Portuguese army, yeah, it's going to obliterate the Byzantine Empire, and there's no chance for them. Like I freed the Byzantines from their deaths at the hands of Songhai, but they weren't. They were in the medieval era, and they were gonna get obliterated sooner or later. Anyway, where was I? Something related to oh yeah, units. So you start with spearmen and pikemen. They are your mainstay. You're gonna have composite bowmen and crossbowmen to support them. Yes, you're gonna have maybe some swordsmen or horses if you're lucky. but generally your main force is pikemen. And then basically once you get to the Renaissance, it becomes the melee line that is the main force. The riflemen, the musketmen, the infantry, and that will be your mainstay for the rest of the game. So, and I think it's kind of related to the strategic resources because, of course, iron is pretty hard to come by early game, and the melee line units all require iron up until the musketmen, and I guess the warrior. But the warrior is it really a melee line unit? Technically it upgrades into it, and technically it follows the same promotion tree, but it doesn't have any of the bonuses that a normal melee line unit has. So once you get away from that strategic resource penalty, you can absolutely obliterate any sort of anti-cavalry army with your own number of regular melee units, and that's I really like that. You're kind of forced away from what you know, from what your army currently is, and their upgrade path starts to get weird. Like the pikeman is very clear; it's an anti. Cavalry melee units that can also work perfectly fine as a general melee unit. Spearman, exact same. Lancer. What are you supposed to do with it? It's a cavalry anti-cavalry unit. It's just weird. Like you can use pikemen in a straight up line formation using their defensive bonuses, but lancers don't get that because they're cavalry. Anyway, I just realized the clip is done. So yeah, thank you for watching. If you want to see more of this, let me know, and I hope to see you next time. That's basically the invasion, by the way. There's not a lot more to tell you. I rolled over them. That's it. Goodbye.